Hey friend, welcome to the Momfluence podcast. I'm your host, Sonia Cacique. I'm a mom of twins, a licensed school counselor, an educator, and an entrepreneur. This is our community where we get to walk together while building a network of people and resources so we help our kids reach their personal goals and career aspirations. You'll hear episodes with tools and strategies while also sharing stories from a wide variety of experts in the field. Because truly as moms, we are our kids' most influential influencer. So come with me and let's get started. Welcome, friend. I'm so excited you're here today. This is our last episode of the season. I have truly enjoyed this ride with you, and thank you for your supports to every single one of you. Thank you. Your support means so much to me, whether it was by a personal message you've sent me, by sharing our podcast or favorite episode with your family and friends, by responding to any of my call to actions during this season, or by the personal one-on-one conversations you and I have had here together. I also want to take a minute to thank personally to every single guest that has joined our podcast this season. You have been an inspiration, an encouragement, and a mentor to all of us through your personal, raw conversations. To all of our experts in the field that have been here with us, I am beyond grateful for your time, knowledge, and expertise that you have shared with all of us. I honestly cannot wait for what next season holds for us. Before you continue listening anymore, make sure you subscribe to our podcast by clicking the subscribe button right now wherever you're listening us from, so you're alerted when our first episode of season 2 is released next month. And follow me on Instagram at momfluence.podcast, where I will be sharing all the details and publicize when our next season is ready to be released in the month of January. So before you do anything else, make sure you're following us, friend. To wrap up this season, I have a very special guest, Dr. Conn. She is a neurostructural-focused family wellness chiropractor and functional health practitioner with special interests in preconception, prenatal, and pediatric care. She enjoys speaking to, teaching, and sharing modern and alternative wellness strategies with her community and professional groups. She has been nominated as a top chiropractor in Michigan for the past 4 years and often is sought out by other local healthcare practitioners to achieve the best possible results for their mutual clients. She received her bachelor's degree at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and her doctorate at Life University in Marietta, Georgia. She currently resides in Michigan with her husband, Kyle, and 2 dog children. She, as so many other high school students, graduated not knowing exactly what career path she wanted to pursue. It wasn't until she got to college that she really found her love and passion for the career that she is now in. She also shares with us her journey as a first-generation Indian American college student and how she dealt with the struggle of mental overload in her own mental health during her first years in college. These, friends, are the raw conversations we need to be having, both you and I, parents with our children, and our children with us parents as well. I hope you leave inspired through this conversation. As so many of our conversations this season, I personally ended up learning so much from our conversation with Dr. Conn. I won't give you all the details so you can listen to her, but this is a great story. I cannot wait to see how she continues to grow in her professional and personal life. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome, Nafreed. Welcome to the Momfluence podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
Yes, I'm really excited to have you here. So for our listeners, this is going to be our last episode of our first season. So we're very excited about that. And this episode couldn't have been in perfect timing because it's going to bring everything full circle. You were in my pharmacy tech class, and that's when I was a teacher. And now full circle, now I'm interviewing you. So why don't you introduce yourself first to our audience and tell us about yourself and your personal life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am now Dr. Navpreet Conn. So I've gotten married and gotten a couple of degrees since I was in class with you. So that's pretty awesome. I am a nervous system focused chiropractor. I see families, kids, the whole spectrum there. And it's been a fun ride getting here because it's not really something I ever expected myself to do. When I was in class with you, especially in pharmacy tech class, at the time, I always thought I was going to be a medical doctor. I thought I was going down that path, and, always have had an interest in health sciences and helping people and making a difference. But it was quite the journey to get me to a little bit of a different type of healthcare approach than I think is conventional.
Yeah, no, completely understandable. And, one of the things that grabbed my attention with you specifically is I can see your passion in what you do. Let's go back. Let's go back in time and tell us about your career path journey. What was the first thing you said that you wanted to go into medical school somewhere in that area? How did you transition to that thought to where you're at now?
Yeah. So to go way, way back, I am a first generation Indian American college student. I think when you think of Indian parents or a lot of Asian parents, you think of, high expectations and a lot of push and encouragement to go into medicine or be a lawyer or an engineer. It's usually like doctor, lawyer, engineer. And those are kind of the options you're given because typically, your parents want you to be successful. And those are the careers they think of when they think of success. And so for me, I think, a lot of my thought process was I was kind of told from a young age, like, you should be a doctor, and so I didn't really know any different. Like, it was just always my default. That's just what I thought I was going to do. And that really guided me. So it was a lot of guidance from my parents, but at the same time, it's a double-edged sword because it's a lot of pressure too, especially being first generation and, my parents, immigrated from India and didn't have as many opportunities. And so their whole goal is, hey, let's get our kids to America because that's where the opportunities are. And, let's make this possible. So then they want you to achieve. And there was a lot of pressure. And in high school, I was in class with you, but I considered myself to be an overachiever. And, it's like, if I didn't get all A's, it was like the end of the world. And that was all from a lot of the expectations my family had of me. And then I had of myself too, as a result. And so, of course I did some research and, started to take classes that were related, like pharmacy tech and being in the health sciences club and all kinds of other clubs and doing fundraising for Relay for Life for cancer research. And so I really started to, expose myself to that. And I remember actually going to volunteer at the hospital, I think Memorial Hermann. I don't know if it's changed now, but that's where I went to go volunteer because I wanted to get exposure to that life. And, it was interesting because part of me was like, oh, this could be cool. And then the other part of me was like, this kind of seems sad. So it was just, because there's a lot of sick people in hospitals and in those settings. So, to kind of fast forward a little bit, by the time I got to college, I was in a new environment. I was in a place where, I felt really free of a lot of the expectations. And there was a lot of struggles. When I was in high school, my parents were going through a lot, our family was going through a lot. There's lots of financial struggles and marital troubles and all kinds of stuff. And it was really, really stressful. And so for me, getting to college was like the escape. I could finally get away from all of that and kind of find myself a little bit. And, so when I got to college, things got a little bit weird because I was burnt out, I think, from all of the expectations. And college is a whole nother, it's a whole nother bear, especially going to a big school like I did. So I went to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, which was a long move from home, which is, it was in Houston, Texas. And part of my choice to be there was because I knew they had a really good medical school. So, and I wanted to get away from my home. So instead of going to UT or A&M, that's where I ended up. And it was hard. It got really hard. And I started to struggle a lot mentally, mental health wise. I was also working. I had to get a job and, essentially kind of support myself a little bit because my family, I think when some people think of Indian families, they either think they're like super rich and wealthy, like come from a lot, or, my family wasn't like that. And for us, it was really like nose to the grind, like work hard, make it happen, because we didn't come from that. So, so I had to work, and there was a lot happening. And slowly what I started to notice was like my grades were slipping. I started to really spiral a little bit into a lot of anxiety and depression. And at that time, I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do, because I already thought I was a failure, and I wasn't even failing, but I felt like a failure, because when you come from expectations of all A's and super high achieving, and you're not quite doing that, I think I had a 3.6 GPA in my first semester, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doomed. I'm done, and I let that really affect me. So long story short on that, I was in this place where I didn't really know what I was going to do, because at that point I was like, I don't think medical school is really for me. And so I didn't know what I was going to do. And I accidentally kind of stumbled upon chiropractic, because I was having back pain, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I should go try this, to see if this helps. And sure enough, like, I went, and it was something where I had no idea it was going to change my life the way it did, because it was so much more than just back pain and neck pain and what people typically think of it for. And it was really an entire mindset shift, and shift in how I started to view health as a whole, and looking towards natural and holistic means of healing our bodies, and less towards, outside in interventions, which ironically enough, like, relying on pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. And that was really interesting, because I had actually enrolled myself in a drug trial in college, and I was going to help be a part of the research. So I was taking, I didn't know technically it was placebo or the real thing, but I was taking a pretty intense antidepressant drug at the time too.
Wow.
And I felt awful. I mean, I felt like I was a zombie. So to me, to go into this experience of realizing like, wow, okay, so there's other options, like there's other things I can dive into to help myself, was a huge awakening, instead of, going down that path of just saying, okay, well, I guess something's wrong with me and I need to be medicated. But really I needed to address a lot of mental health stuff from the inside out approach of generational trauma and everything that I went through when I was a kid. My mom, when I was younger, she was a single mom, raised me on her own. So lots of different pieces I started to unravel, and taking care of my body, which I wasn't doing. Drinking, eating junk, even growing up, we ate a lot of fast food and stuff like that. And because our parents didn't know any different. So
exactly.
So that's where that shift happened. And the rest was kind of history, and it just opened my eyes, and I never really looked back after that.
I love it. I love it. First of all, parents, are you listening? Because she's literally talking to you. Oh my goodness. We can literally dive into this for a whole nother hour just on the few that you shared with us. But I'm going to start first with what you said about exploring your career options. So you started shadowing. So that's amazing. I think there are a lot of free opportunities out there when it's just shadowing. You're not asking for an internship. You're not asking to get paid. You're just wanting to see what it's like to be in the day-to-day, because that makes a huge difference. In a book, reading about it is a whole nother story than being in the field and seeing it. So I like that you shared that with us. The other thing I wanted to kind of just bring light is, you felt that something just wasn't right, and you listened to your gut feeling on your career. And I think that's something that we want to share with everyone in regards to that. Now, when you mentioned about career exploration, about shadowing, that's the other thing I wanted to bring light into our conversation, because that's what this podcast is about. I want to bring anyone from your own home into the life of a career option for you. Because of course, most people know the general doctorate, teacher, lawyer path. And there's so many other paths in career options. I know you said earlier, you're a nervous system, correct? Chiropractor.
Yeah. So I really focus on whole body health, and really making sure that your brain and body is communicating as best as possible. So it's not so much about like, let's just pop and crack and make things, your back feel good. But because our nervous system controls everything in our body, if those nerves that are traveling from our brain to our body, if there's interference there and there's, something that is messing with that communication, then that can cause all kinds of health issues as well, in addition to some of the symptoms that you commonly think of, back pain, neck pain, all that type of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot more to it, which is why people sometimes are like, why do you see kids? Like, they don't have back problems. It's like, well, no, but the birth process is traumatic. Growing up, you're falling all the time. All kinds of stuff is happening. And I see all kinds of other issues that people don't relate to chiropractic necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. Super. And I'll get back to full circle on that in just a minute. The other thing I wanted to mention was the mental health aspect. And that's what this podcast is going to be leading into next season as well. It's about just helping students at the high school and college level with encouragement. I still need my people to, pour onto me when I need it, especially when it comes to mental health. And so I'm very appreciative that you brought that up, your personal experience in regards to mental health, because it's a lot more common than what anybody thinks. And it's not being spoken about too much, because a lot of kids feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me. And it's actually pretty normal. Doesn't mean it's okay, but it's normal to happen. And we need to find those strategies to help encourage them.
Absolutely. And especially for kids that don't feel like they can talk to their families and their parents, because there can be a stigma associated, especially in some of the minority groups. It's like, be tough, what is this mental health? Like, you can snap out of it. It's like a sign of weakness, I think, for a lot of those cultures. And it's not. And I think that if we start to really unpack some of that, it's a lot of generational stuff. And you find that it's just these ideas that have been passed down generation to generation. It's our job to stop that and say, okay, like, let's make it okay to talk about this, and let's make it okay. Even as healthcare providers, I really stand for and advocate for being authentic in your leadership. Like, I will share things on my Facebook about when I'm going through struggles, because I think people should know that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And sometimes we only see examples of the good stuff, especially as healthcare providers, and I think we need to be open that it took a lot to get to where we're at. So it didn't just happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So let me ask you this about your career journey. Who influenced you the most in that journey?
Yeah. So obviously my mom is a big influencer in my life. Like I mentioned, the earlier part of my childhood, she was a single mom, and her and my grandma raised me in a little apartment in Chicago. And I think most kids want to make their parents proud. But for me, I think that relationship with, when you come from a single family home and, with your mom, it's a little bit different. So she was a big influencer for me, and helping me to understand that, one, like, I needed to be happy. I needed to be successful. But also she taught me a lot about being independent and, being resilient, and resilience is huge. And I think she's been probably my number one influencer. But other than that, honestly, some of my teachers in high school, I think they saw a lot in me that I didn't really see in myself. And so there was actually a point, even sometimes I still think, like, I would love to have the opportunity to teach, because you can make such an amazing impact on your students, and, you don't even realize it. But I had certain teachers who were like, hey, you should, consider running for this officer role in National Honor Society. And I was like, me? Really? Like, I don't know about that. And that really changed my entire trajectory, because that confidence in me gave me the ability to start to pursue leadership roles and really step into my own confidence and self-worth. And that made a big difference too.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. So, since you had such a good relationship with your mom, and she was an influence, and this podcast is for parents and students and, college students, tell me how that conversation was when you decided to tell your parents that you were not going to go to medical school and you had a different path in mind.
I think that my mom has always been extremely supportive. My family has always been extremely supportive. So, on one hand, they were really supportive, but on the other hand, they were like, well, why not? Are you sure? What are you even doing? I don't think they still even know what I'm doing, but, and, I think it was confusing for them. And, for me, I had to really get over some, like, shame almost, in feeling that I was letting them down. And so that was hard for me. It was harder for me, I think, to be willing to share that. But once I think, I explained what it was that I was looking to achieve. And to be completely honest, my mom once told me, she said, I don't care what you do as long as you have the word doctor in front of your name. And, and so she's like, oh, okay, so you're still getting a doctorate. Okay, this is fine, So it was almost like okay at the same time. So, which is funny because that's all she really cared about. And, so I'm happy to have made her proud on that front.
No, yeah, I completely understand. And I think from what I hear you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was more of your own impression of what this conversation would sound like than what it really was in reality.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the case. Truly, I feel like, unfortunately, for a lot of kids, and not just our conversations with our parents, but with our teachers and with all the leaders in our lives, because you're so afraid of how it can play out. Because you make up all these scenarios in your mind of, oh my gosh, they're going to disown me. Oh my gosh, I'm just doomed and they're not going to love me anymore. And that's not true. And you're a parent, so you'll love your kids no matter what, but you don't always see it that way when you're on the other end of it. And I think as a parent, it's really important to make sure that you let your kids know that they can be heard, and not just, don't just listen to them. Let them know that you can hear them, and you might not understand right away what it is that they're doing, but ask questions and be more curious than jump to judgment as a parent is what I will strive to do when I'm a mom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And listeners, if you have not listened to one of our episodes about raw conversations, and that's another thing about our podcast, is that we're really inspiring open communication and open conversations between children and parents at any level, any age, whether they're 2, 3, or they're now even adults. Hi, friend. Before we dive back into today's engaging discussion, we have an exciting announcement to make. Are you eager to stay up to date with the latest college and career-ready news, insightful blogs, and gain early access to the following week's episode topic? Well, we've got just the thing for you. I'm thrilled to introduce our College and Career Ready newsletter. By joining our community, you'll be part of a vibrant group of parents and students with aspirations of being college and career ready. Plus, you'll get exclusive access to all the valuable resources we have to offer. So, how do you join? It's simple. Just head over to collegecareerready.org, all one word, collegecareerready.org, and navigate to the resource tab. There, you'll find a sign-up link to our newsletter. It's quick and easy to join, and it's the best way to stay connected with us and elevate your college and career journey. Join us today at collegecareerready.org and click on the resource tab where you can sign up to our newsletter. We can't wait to welcome you into our community. Thank you for being part of our podcast family. And now back to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super important. And I think I always come back to the minority thing because I think we just go through a little bit of a different experience, but when the expectations are really high, it seems like communication gets shut down, and it should be the opposite.
Totally. So let me ask you this. What inspires you now? So you're in your career. What is your daily inspiration?
I think it's the ability to create change that will last for generations down the road. Obviously, we have up until this point a certain idea of what health looks like. And unfortunately, in my experience, people seem to be getting sicker and sicker. And, they're not getting the type of care that they deserve from their providers. And, I strive to be a provider that, helps people feel heard and gives them options and, is really in their corner. And I think that makes a big difference because you never know how far something you think, say, or do will change the lives of millions tomorrow. And that's really what I strive for. But also, for me, I want to have kids and I want the ability to create changes that are going to break this cycle that I've experienced in my family. So that really inspires me, is knowing that one day I have children, that I will be able to help shape their future and hopefully a more positive way, based on the things that I have learned. And I think that's mainly what inspires me, but also I'm inspired by constantly learning and, accelerating my skills and building on them, because we can always be better. So helping people be the best they can be.
Can you share with us a little bit about, so if somebody wanted to pursue a career in this area, did you go to chiropractic school? Did you have advanced studies after that? So describe a little bit about your college experience.
Yeah. So you'll want to get an undergraduate degree, and, of course that can be anywhere you choose, and you'll have to have certain prerequisite requirements, just like most graduate schools. So you would want to figure out exactly what those are. Go to a website of a chiropractic school. There's not a ton of them, but the one I went to was down in Georgia. It was awesome. It's called Life University. And so they have all their requisites up there, and you can go down and visit the campus and all that stuff if that's a choice that you end up making for your career. But before that, even, I think, when you're in high school or college, go shadow, like we talked about earlier, go get in the field and, go to multiple different offices that focus on different things and try to get an understanding of if this is something that you could see yourself doing. And if it is, then, a lot of times that doctor will help you, find a school that might work for you or help kind of guide you down that path, which is exactly what happened for me. Is, I went and he said, "Hey, would you be interested in going down and visiting the school?" And, paid for me to go down. And that gave me the experience of being able to visit the campus. But yeah, that's what you do. So you then, you have your 4-year undergraduate degree, and then chiropractic school is about 4 years as well. And it's rigorous. I'm not going to lie. I was taking 14 to 21 credits at a time. It's a lot. And it's not easy, but it's doable. And you get a lot of experience, hands-on experience late in the later parts of your school. Then you do an internship and an externship, and then you would eventually go on to make the choice of if you choose to open up your own office or work with somebody as an associate, or whatever fits you best at that point, and go from there. And then some people choose to specialize in different focuses. So pediatric, sports chiropractic, there's various different techniques and things like that. I'm getting into some more functional medicine work now, which is something you can also pursue.
And then did you start working on your own? Did you start your business, or did you work for someone first?
So I have, at this point, kind of started over 3 times, because I initially did start working with another doctor, and my husband, we weren't married yet, but we met in school. Anyway, so the two of us joined up a practice and we all worked together. I think something in me always knew that I needed to start my own practice, because I know what I want and I like to go for it. And I'm a go-getter type of person. So it was hard for me to kind of fit myself into somebody else's vision. But what ended up happening was COVID happened and lots of things changed. I broke my foot, and it gave me the opportunity to rest for like 4 months. And I was like, okay, I need to separate. It was like a sign from God, I think,
Yeah.
Okay, you know what, separate yourself. So I did. And my husband and I were also moving at the time. So then I actually joined up with another office, but in a little bit of a different capacity. I was an independent contractor. So I wasn't necessarily bound by the rules of that practice. I could kind of do my own thing a little bit, but it was still in somebody else's facility. And again, I was like, oh, this still just doesn't feel right. I really want to create my own space. And so fast forward another year and a half after that, I decided, okay, so I disconnected from that practice. And then this past February, I opened my own. And it was truly something, let my own self get in my way. I was so afraid of failing. And it was something I knew I needed to do. But those experiences of working with other practices really, it gave me a lot of experience at the same time to be successful when I did open mine. So in a sense, I kind of started over 3 times, but that was the best decision I could have made, and just finally believing in myself and going for it. And it's been amazing since.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on starting your own practice and really sharing again your raw journey, because like a lot of people know you from now and say, "Oh wow, she's got it made. She has her own practice," and they don't know what you did to lead you to where you're at today.
Yeah, exactly. You really don't see all of the inner workings of all the stuff that somebody's been through. And to anybody who feels like they're, quote, failing or not achieving enough, you're just on a journey, and just believe in yourself and get out of your own way, because I think all of us have a little bit of that fear of failure, because we're trying to survive in this world. But, if you just get out of your own way, seek the tools, the mentorship, the resources, connect with people, relationships, relationship capital is huge, and surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up and believe in you, because that'll help you believe in yourself too.
Yeah. Yeah. And my husband and I were out at a date night last night and we're having this conversation about fear and about, how a lot of people limit themselves with their own mind, their own roadblocks that haven't even happened yet. And they're already setting themselves up for failure. And if they don't try, the answer is no. You won't know if it's going to work out or if this is your path if you don't give it a try.
Absolutely. And that was one thing. It was Marie Forleo, if you're familiar with her, but she has a book called Everything is Figure Outable. And it's an amazing book, but she talks about she's a multi-passionate entrepreneur. And I kind of consider myself to be one too, but realizing I can figure out anything. And so what is the worst possible outcome of taking a chance on yourself, right? Like, so it doesn't work out. Okay, so you try again and you do something different. But what's the best thing that can come of it is that you do succeed and you get everything that you ever wanted. But like you said, if you don't go for it, then you'll never find out.
Yeah. Yeah. The answer is no then automatically.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Okay. And then last on your career, can you just describe us your day-to-day?
Yeah. So day to day, I work Monday through Thursday. I take a half day on Tuesday and I don't work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I've designed that because that's what I want to do. And so I wake up, I get ready, go to the office, and I start to see patients. I see patients, for about 3 hours, take a couple-hour break, go home, let my puppy dogs out, eat lunch, and go back for another few hours, see patients throughout that time. And then, I get all my administrative stuff done. So I basically wear all of the hats in my practice right now. So I'm handling all the administrative stuff, all the insurance billing, everything at this point. So I should probably get some help, but it's doable. And, and then I rinse and repeat and do it all over again the next day. I'm like I said, a family wellness practitioner. So I see families. I see babies all the way up to grandparents, and see a variety of different issues. Like some of them is the typical, helping people move better and function better. But for babies, I help to resolve things like torticollis and plagiocephaly and inability to rotate their head, flat head spots, nursing issues. So a lot of moms struggle with nursing, so we can help, improve the latch and things like that. All the way to kids who are, athletes and just looking to have the best performance or, have injuries from that. And we can help, prevent injuries and help correct them, to, the middle-aged mom who's struggling with, fatigue and brain fog and things like that. So I send out for functional lab work and analyze that, and then help put them on a nutraceutical or supplemental approach to help correct things from the inside out. Which is really cool. That's been a newer passion of mine, is that. And then, pregnant moms. I see lots of pregnant moms to help them have the most comfortable pregnancy as possible. So baby's positioned correctly, and they can have if they choose to have natural delivery, then they can have the most success, hopefully, at that. To dads and grandparents who are struggling with pain. So it's really a full variety of clients or patients. I don't even like to call them patients, because I think in Latin, patients, directly translates to suffering. Like a patient is suffering. And my people aren't suffering. I want them to have a best quality of life. So it's more of a wellness-based approach. But so yeah, that's all the types of people I serve, and they're amazing. And it's so rewarding because you can watch people change in the way that they think and the type of confidence they have in themselves. And even mental health is hugely improved because their brain and body functions better, and they learn how to eat better, and they start moving, and then all of a sudden they're just better. So yeah, that's typically what life looks like right now.
Okay, super. If you go back in time, is there anything that you would have done differently?
I think that I would have taken a little bit of pressure off of myself. And I think it's easy to fall into that, this perfectionist, high expectation place that we operate out of sometimes. But just, if I could go back, I'd tell myself like, hey, it's going to be okay. And like, allow yourself to just rest in that a little bit more. And just breathe, because sometimes we just get so caught up and we stop breathing.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think that would be a big thing. But other than that, I truly believe that, this journey it's exactly what it's supposed to be. And so I think that we have to go through the hard times to get to the good times sometimes. And if I hadn't gone through some of the harder times, I wouldn't be who I am and be as, I think, resilient and adaptable as I can say that I am now. So I wouldn't really change a ton at this point.
What qualities do you think that really stood out the most about you and has made you successful today?
I think that I have always been the person that I don't like hearing no. I don't like being told that, something isn't possible. And I've always found a way, even when I was in some really, really dark times when I didn't really know what life is going to look like, I still found a way. But other qualities, I think, is, I would say I'm pretty personable. I'm actually an introvert, but I can be a great extrovert. But being able to talk to people and relate to them and be authentic, I think those things really go a long way. And yeah, I just come back to the resilience. I mean, you have to be able to get beat down and get back up. And I feel like I've done that a lot, even though it doesn't always feel that way, but doing that and always being willing to learn.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So why don't you tell us what's next in your career? Do you have any other plans, how you want to continue advancing in your career?
Right now, I am just trying to soak up like all of this, this whirlwind that I've been through in the past few years. And, like I said, I just started adding in some more functional lab work and stuff like that, and looking at different health markers. So I think eventually, things will change a little bit when we have a family. And I think that's an important transition to try to plan for a little bit. I know you can't always, but I will probably, eventually try to step back a little bit more from the patient care aspect and look at ways that I can work with people a little bit more virtually with some of the functional medicine stuff that I talked about. And then, my husband, he's also a chiropractor, but joining forces again, and maybe where he's taking on more of the patient load, and I can step back a little bit because I do want to be able to have a family and spend time with them and all of that. But for right now, I mean, I'm just happy to just continue to press forward and make this practice as amazing as it can be and help as many people as I can. But the other thing I'd like to do is, it's interesting that I know this is geared towards high school students and students in general, but I'd love to start a nonprofit in the area of just helping connect students to mentors and resources so that they can feel like they can be heard and have options. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So where can others reach you or connect with you if they wanted to, connect with you more directly?
Yeah. So my website, it's evolvefenton.com. There's my information's on there. I have a number that people can text if they have any questions. My email address is on there. So it's Dr. Nav, N-A-V at evolvefenton.com. I'm pretty active on my Facebook page, which is, it says, I think, Dr. Navpreet Conn -Evolve Fenton. But yeah, I'm sure you can find me there. It is a great place to just kind of keep up with things. And yeah.
Super. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us, and I'm looking forward to see how you continue to advance, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Have a good day.
Thanks. You too.
What a great conversation, right, friend? I wanted to pop in here one last time to say thank you so much for this wonderful year. Please don't forget to follow us at momfluence.podcast on Instagram, and also subscribe right now to our podcast wherever you're listening us from, so you are alerted when our next episode is released. Friend, I hope you've enjoyed this ride with me. I am so excited and cannot wait for what the future holds for all of us. Enjoy these next couple of weeks spending time with your family, loved ones, and friends. This is the season to find community wherever you're at. And one last thing, during this time that we will be away, you can always continue to communicate with me directly on Instagram, through our Facebook group, or via email. All the information is found in the show notes. So if you have any topics that you want me to speak about next season or to converse about, then please share that with me. I cannot wait to hear from you. Have a wonderful and blessed day, and I will talk to you soon. Hi, friend. Thank you for listening in. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much to me if you share it with a mom friend. Send it to her right now. Or even better, tag me on your Instagram stories so I can personally thank you for helping me build our community. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. Let's keep in touch, and I'll talk to you soon. Adios.